where's the meter? And they said, there isn't a meter. And he said, well, forget it, because there was no money to be made on it. And obviously, the realm of technology is the realm that, without fail, has been suppressed the last 25 years. But what people need to really understand is there are any number of governments right now that are working on this technology, because there's absolutely no way that it can be suppressed, because the level of the standard of living that we have here in the Western civilization, there's tons of civilizations that realize that's exactly what we want, but we have to do it completely differently. So coal fusion will come online in China, in India, and in other parts of Europe, more advanced parts of Europe. That's where you'll see these things sold and where you'll actually see it come to market. And when it does, it's not far behind for the United States, but in some ways there's simply too much of this stuff anymore to suppress it the way they used to. And one of the confirmations that I received from this, a friend of mine in Michigan, he was unemployed for a long time, really brilliant guy, former Marine, and he was just hired by a company called Alt-E. And what Alt-E does is Alt-E creates fuel cells to go on existing gas combustion engines, which is also the wave of the future, is to for you to be able to buy a fuel cell that will go in your already existing gas engine and will convert it. I have a friend who drives up from Miami every once in a while. He's a genius. He made his own fuel cell. His 1999 Honda gets about 104 miles to the gallon, and he created this fuel cell that he uses in his car for about $900 himself. And see, when technology becomes so incredibly prevalent, it's virtually impossible to suppress it anymore. I mean, at this point, the government has used your tax dollars to invent solar panels that can be printed on a traditional printer with a special cartridge that you could laminate at Kinko's and put on the top of your house and use to produce solar energy. You don't even need the $10,000 panels that you would buy that would in the marketplace be considered cutting edge. Those are not cutting edge. Those are 50 to 100 years behind the actual technology that exists. And really, we're entering into a realm of evolution where there's just no stopping this stuff, because the human mind frame is what it is. And because it's the human mind frame that is creating this, it's going to be the human mind frame that ultimately liberates this stuff and brings it to market. And any intelligent businessman should know how much money there is to be made in this realm. And the businessmen who are willing to make money in this realm they've already been at war with the people who run the oil industry, but there's no stopping it. There's too much of it that exists, and it's going to happen. And you will be within 10 years, you'll be buying these gadgets at Walmart. I guarantee you. And it'll be great. It'll be great. And
That's fantastic.
Yes, and one other thing. I mean, if we need to go to break, we can go to break. But I see we're in the middle of an economic downturn right here. We're in the middle of a recession, a depression, whatever you want to call it. But there is a boom time coming that is unparalleled to anything we've ever seen before. I think it could be.
What do you mean by boom time? Boom. Are you talking about another Great Depression or another golden era?
Another boom that's equivalent to like the internet boom, but it's probably about at least 10 times that capacity. It's generally related to energy as I see it, but no, massive wealth being remade through a boom. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but there are people who are going to listen to this program later. Maybe they'll remember this. I used to hear all the time, the money is in giggle, 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 giggle. And sometimes, when you hear things, it's off like a vowel or a consonant. And I was able to tell a particular client, who had money to invest, invest in giggle. Well, that was Google, and it was one letter off. And the word that I hear all the time now is digit. So, if something comes online to invest in, it's a rigit or it's tidget or whatever. What I hear is digit, and it could be off a vowel or a consonant, but it's right in that realm. But, yeah, there's a boom coming in about 6 to 7 years.
Well, that's great.
And it's a big one. It's a big one.
That's a great insider stock tip, actually. But
yeah. You may be able to make some money off that.
Tip. Definitely. It'll pay in college.
We'll see.
But,
yeah, so that's how the technologies just are irrepressible right now. They're just irrepressible. And the other thing, too, is, people now realize that all of this is just a big scam. And so these technologies are going to be incredibly enticing even to the average Joe, because the average Joe no longer wants to write out $300 for their electric bill like I do every month. They don't want. They understand this is a complete sham, and so this is just kind of waiting in the wings, absolutely, without a doubt. I have some others here on the list, but I think that you should ask me anything you want to ask me. I mean, there's 3 others that I have here on the list. But
oh no, you can continue.
Okay. The other thing too that I would want to talk it's about 10 years, 100 years, and 1,000 years. We're at a very particular interesting juncture in history. We are at the end of the industrial age, which is one of the reasons why you see all of these jobs being lost, and those jobs really are not coming back. We are at the end of the industrial age, which has been the apex of our growth financially and industrially for the last 150 years. But we're at the end of the industrial age. We're really at the end of the computer age only because, or the technological age, only because people themselves now operate like machines. They don't literally have a distinction between their self and their Mac or their cell phone. People run like machines now. So people have actually become themselves the industrial age. We are at the end of the Piscean age, and we are at the opening gates of the Aquarian age. And in all of the classical Hindu texts, which are some of the oldest spiritual writings ever on record, it makes it very clear that we are entering, at this point, a golden age. And these concepts are pretty well understood in other parts of the world, not always so much in the West. And so the example that I would give for us to understand how that works is something that's more rooted in the Christian theology, which is, you have in the King James Bible, you have it starting with Genesis, which is the opening of the Garden of Eden and all of creation. And you have the book closing with Revelations, which is the tale of Armageddon and the apocalypse. And it's always been my understanding for the last 10 years that when a book is done, you start it over again. And so really what that would mean is closing the Bible and opening up to Genesis and starting all over again. And if you read some of the old Vedas, the old Veda texts and the old Hindu texts, what they really explain to you is that the opening of the Golden Age is literally, at minimum, 1,000-year period where we enter into a realm that is the individual reconstructing the Garden of Eden, so their own personal Eden experience. And so that's really what people are questing for right now, is their own understanding of creating a paradise on earth. And your paradise will look very different than mine. But the opening of the Golden Age is really the liberation of people in a composite structure so that they can